percentage that's spent is the percentage that we spent so far this year.
Of the year's budget.
I just left that as it was.
Which was about, it was what, 20-some odd percent, wasn't it, or
yes.
something?
Yeah.
So it seemed higher than what it should be in terms of the number of weeks or.
Should be around 25%. If you look at.
For a quarter of the way.
Yeah, that's true.
So you have to be careful when there's 5 Tuesdays in a month, it throws this all off because of the pay doesn't go to the next. In other words, what happened, if you compare to my report to the next pay schedule, just say the part-time people almost have, Dave's almost spent half his budget already on this part-time help. So it's kind of deceiving when you do it in some months it won't be. But what I tried to do was it happened exactly last year the same way, so that way it is a good comparison.
Isn't it also true that some expenses are spent 100% in the first quarter?
Correct.
And then nothing gets spent for the rest of the year?
And that's what this shows.
And so, if you're looking at the whole thing, it's...
Well, some of those are pretty obvious. There were a couple, though, where the supplies.
All the software
Software, the money to Southwest Mutual for the dispatch was there, but the tax collector was up on supplies, the PE was up on supplies, somebody else was up on supplies. It was like, the bottom line of the budget doesn't look bad, but when you look at some of those numbers, it's like, what are they, again, it goes back to me to the planning end of it. If they're buying, like they had $3,000 in for the PE for new equipment and they spent $5,430.
Well, there was, part of the problem with that was that they bought it in December, the end of December.
So it's the billing time.
But the billing time went in on the 16th of 2016 in January. And they could not, supposedly when the auditors come, they're going to try to put that back on the 2015, but they couldn't get the computer to do it. It was, and they're trying to work on that, but they haven't
ambulance
made it
supplies, the same thing. Are way up there.
One thing I did note, I was going to shoot an email to Kelly, is that she also puts in the town clerk and the tax collector's software. If you notice, if you look at the software on the town clerk compared to the tax collector, it's almost identical. One's under $1,800 and the other one's $2,200 over. So some of the stuff I think gets put in the wrong slots, coded wrong. So that might be something that will kind of, reports like this will catch. And I used to do that with Linda all the time, to shoot her an email and say, this looks so funky. And she will fix it.
Chris, what's the game plan with interviewing for Kelly's assistant, since that's going to definitely impact this kind of stuff? Because I would assume this is part of what they'd be doing with accounts payable and receivable.
4 applicants, and we have not yet scheduled times for interviews or anything like that. But I'll include that with my questions for these guys when we get started on that.
Does this committee know that Linda's done full-time?
Although she was in the office.
Yeah, she's working part-time.
Right.
2 days a week now.
Yeah, something like that. Just, I think mostly on pay.
Mondays and Tuesdays, because those are the busy days, that she told me.
How long is she going to be working part-time?
Till she gets sick of it.
No. It's been like 8 years been kicked around. I think that,
Anything else jump out at you that we need to look at?
Well, you can tell it was a mild winter because we used a lot less oil. So that stuff, salt was down. Well, actually, salt was about the same because
we're buying it.
we're buying it. So just the way things fall on that. A few other things here and there, but nothing that really pops out.
Well, so most of these things that are way over were the people who were the departments that purchase things right at the end of the year to use up their monies, and they
It might have gone into 16 and it needs to do that. This is why you can't, when people ask how much was left over last year, you won't know that until the auditors are done moving stuff around.
auditors have to do?
Some towns hire auditors and some don't. That's something that else has always done.
And I'm not gonna argue with an auditor, I think an auditor is a really good thing, especially knowing what happened in Apple, but, a few years back.
For example.
Yeah, but why does an auditor have to move those things back? Why can't we do it knowing that it's a 2015 expense?
Well,
I don't
we
understand.
can do it, but sometimes Kelly was like, one problem, she couldn't get it to move back on the
Okay.
computer, so this is where the auditors, you always see auditors report, like in the town report, that's where they'll move it.
Okay.
And also, in some cases, they prefer to move it, so they don't see that these monies arrived here and then disappeared, and, but it's just an easier solution for them to do it and check, rather than having to go find it.
So anything else on there, Glenn?
And the welfare is like, I'm really happy with the welfare. We spent a little under $1,000 this year. Last year, this time, we spent almost $7,000.
I think we're up on the auto part of that, weren't we, or something? It's almost all out.
The auto, no, we haven't spent anything in the auto.
Something was,
Linda sent some frequent flyers moved out of town.
Yeah,
Well, because of a change in how
I think it's
things
the
were
way-
collected.
I think,
yeah, welfare, auto, 100%, $500.
oh,
What?
yeah. The report.
Yeah, yet we're only at 7% for the overall total, so.
Right. And I suggested to Linda one time, if this is something that you see a bill come through with an auto, you can just blank out the name, whoever's doing it, if someone comes in with an estimate, fax it to me or email it to me, I can look it over really quickly and see if it's a fair price. So you just blanket my name.
Bring that up with Kelly.
I don't care whose name's on it, what the company, that's all I care about, just privacy. So this report, this will show up at the end of the month when I do that next report. So this report won't coincide with mine because it was done at the end of the month.
Okay, anything else on that?
So, are the selectmen seeing this report, is that what you're saying?
I shot it out to them to kind of look over.
Now, the revenue report that we, is there anything we could discuss on that?
We've asked Kelly to put that together, you guys are interested in it, the selectmen are interested in it. So we'd like to see it too.
That'd be awful nice to have that in comparison too, but I don't,
Yeah, I don't know.
today, but that's probably gonna create a lot of work for her, but can't take
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah, but in some cases, it's really important. For instance, for some of these things that have gone way over, I mean, if somebody gifted the ambulance corps monies to buy this, it can come on here as an expense because, something was paid out for that. Yet what we don't see is that there's this balance because somebody gifted, $300 for ambulance equipment. So when you don't see those gifts, the same with the library, you don't see those gifts coming in, you just see what the town has paid a check out, you don't really know where you are.
So I think the gifts, you have to check on that, because I think the gifts don't come out of your budget. They have a separate account, the ambulance, that people have gifted, and that's how they bought, like, that airlift,
But the check still has to come from,
no, it comes directly from them.
oh, it does, oh, they have a separate
Yeah,
account that they can,
the fire
okay.
department has the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
There are some significant revenue that doesn't come in until quite late in the year.
Correct.
The
Rooms and meals and all that.
September, October.
When you're talking about gift money, almost all the money, the fire department has very little money, like not even a couple $100 from what I understand. The ambulance had a
Big gift.
big chunk, yeah, and that's another thing too that we need to be on the lookout for. Jesse keeps throwing out these things. what's the story with that large capability? How can that be put to use too, so.
Didn't tell you about that last structure last year. Not last year, but it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
So who watches that money? And how do we know it's there?
We have nothing, that's strictly with.
They do it.
So if I give the fire guys $1,000 just because I'm feeling nice,
They put that in little kitty and it's their responsibility. Just like if they do fundraisers or anything else, it doesn't come as income to the town.
They have their own account.
Right.
and nobody looks them over?
Private does, yeah.
Interesting.
And I think there was discussion about auditing some of us audit on those too, but I don't remember the whole discussion of it.
Just that, maybe they should get a better when somebody gives you money for Christmas and you want to buy something, your chance is just to go get it rather than maybe
Shop around.
shop around because you didn't earn the money. It was your father-in-law's or something. Damn it, I want that blender. So I'm just saying.
So when you get
prudently
revenue
spent.
reports, Chris, can
I
you get
will
copies?
keep on that, about that.
Yeah, thank you. Our own calendar, let's talk about that a little bit. Are we,
Does anyone have a copy of Jonathan's?
Oh, that calendar? Or?
That one.
Well, just because that can help make decisions on,
It wasn't really anything until September, if I recall correctly.
I thought it was August though.
Well,
I think that was,
our
that
quarterly
was the
reports,
problem.
which we took care of tonight, but
Just Jim's.
anything else that's fine? So we'll just keep on keeping on and
Well, that raises the question, what are we keeping on with?
I was gonna say that.
Well, we're going to join subcommittees. We know which one Glenn's joining. I personally favor the dome, but. And Juliana is passionate about whatever's going to happen at Bright Lane.
Right.
So this side of the table, way in large, is covered.
This side of the
That's,
table.
We'll work on
you
that.
already,
Yeah.
you did that last year's, yeah. So we, Donna, and Sam. Oh, and you did the dump 30 years ago. You should be a
I'll
dump.
be on the dump.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a dumb person.
Good.
So will,
Sam?
Chris, will your monthly meetings with the departments, will they produce any particular figures for us to consider, or beyond just the minutes or your report? I mean, are those things that we
We're gonna use Glenn's report, we're gonna use the budget, and it's really just a discussion. I don't know if we're really gonna be producing like a report, a financial report out of that particular meeting. We just wanna understand what's going on. So, I don't know what more would really come out of that. Findings would come out of that, and those would be indicated in the minutes. Yeah.
Some questions to ask the department
Okay.
heads when they
Yeah,
come in.
and follow ups for the next time.
So may I ask, like, was yesterday Kim's turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
He recommended what, fire alarms and all the.
yeah, so we're all set.
Fire, heat, everything basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're all sitting there going, oh, yeah, slap up a couple of fire detectors. Like, you got a price together on this? Like, yeah, it's about $12,000 a building. Yeah.
We're all, I think all.
No, I think it was all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's for, heat.
That's, right,
A very,
being wired in.
And monitored by Key Dispatch. Yep.
Oh.
The first one's free, or monitored free, and then any additional buildings after that, we pay a fee.
so the thought was that, okay, in lieu of not having $12,000 unbudgeted laying around, maybe we could do something less expensive, more affordable, that may not be exactly what you want or need, but might indicate that a building is on fire and notify someone. So the $100 nest or something like that.
it also could indicate that the heat is done and the pipes are about to freeze and burst.
That's true too.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
two ends of the,
That's easy, because we have a freeze alarm. Your insurance company made us have, and I don't think it was, we bought it 10 years ago, but I think it was about $120 then.
and does it connect to Keene Dispatch?
No, it dials numbers out.
Yeah, what?
Well,
It
if
does
it's, if it's
call.
just gonna ring in the building.
No, it calls whoever you want it to call, you program it.
Call the select.
It always calls about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we'll have to call Chris. I'm sure they'll love that.
So how many buildings
The emergency manager.
Three, because basically, you look at
This
like maintenance,
building?
no, equipment. Like the town of Henniker, just, 2 years ago, they lost their town shed and all their trucks and graders and everything. Gone, so you figure that's a lot of money, even though we have insurance, doesn't mean what we get will replace those.
So the town
This is
bond,
what's happening with Henniker right
And
now.
the 2 firehouses.
Yeah,
the two
so,
fire
yeah, you're looking at a lot of
so we
money.
don't care about this building, this struggles away.
People drive by, they see smoke.
Okay, libraries.
Actually, this would be a good note.
One note I made to myself as we discussed various things was the progress on job descriptions. I know that's on the punch list.
That's supposed to be discussed next week at the selectmen's meeting.
Okay. Anything else for our business? All right, Barb, anything from you? Michael's gone. Anything else, any new business? We've got a lot of new business, I guess. Looking forward to, but action items. I'm gonna write some copies of our recommendations on Bragg Lane and the transfer station to the selectmen.
And you and I are gonna contact them.
Do you have her phone number?
I might.
I know what was left over from before, the fire forum,
Yes, good call.
health is
That came up last night. I did talk to Chris's wife about that, Dr. Moore, and she had a couple of suggestions, which I mentioned last night in my notes. And I had reached out to the Keene Fire Department and did not get a response from them. But Bobby Wilson made a good point. She's talked to Walpole and Ackworth. They have the same form. They're going over to Vermont someplace, at least Ackworth is. Walpole has a medical person, and she wasn't sure if it was a PA or what the capacity they were, but they're doing the physicals. And Dr. Moore also recommended checking with the walk-in. So it came to a pause last night before I could say, okay, is this fall in your court were still in mind? So.
But do we have the form?
Oh yeah, it's vague. I mean, one of the things on it.
Because I'm having
Form
to
is
go to walk-ins.
This form is straightforward. And I'll send you the link and you can get it off. You can get it downline. But they have a central job tests from NFPA 1582, NFPA being the National Fire Protection Association. But one of them was like you need to be able to climb 6 stories wearing protective gear and things like that, and carrying additional tools. Well, okay, does that mean the person needs a stress test?
What PA would
Well,
be equipped to?
where do you go in story buildings?
It's very generic. It's very generic, and it's.
Hospital has 5 floors. It's got a bottom.
And sometimes we have to cover Keene, so, and Keene has plenty of places that are 6 stories.
They're talking about wearing an SCBA, the mask and everything, but I don't know whether the doctors that they go to are trained to do SCBA tests. There's a special respirator and SCBA test that they're supposed to be able to do. So it was just, after I read it, I was shaking my head. So.
And do we know where this $800 one was performed?
$1,100. It was performed at Cheshire Medical.
Did we pay for it?
Pardon?
Did we pay for it?
I have no clue. But conversely, I did agree to look into this, which was kind of after the fact. This came up, Kim raised the issue last year that this was going to be a concern. He's known about it for a while, and every other town in the state's got the same concern. So I think they probably network more than any of us can network with other firemen and everything. So some of this is going to grab the bull by the horn and look into it too. So we can do just so much as far as that goes, so.
I think this isn't Tim's court. He's the department head, this is his people. He needs to be the one who works with this, and I think the selectman's role needs to be to fire off a letter to standards and training on the fire side and say, guys, this is not realistic for small towns, you know what I mean? This is gonna be onerous for a lot of small, yeah.
I don't know if that's the best route or not. I think I'd network with some of the other townspersons, see how they've gone about trying to accomplish it. I mean, because some of those things are reasonable. I mean, we mentioned that last night. Like, you know, we have well, from my experience in terms of being the mother of a firefighter, you know, I've seen where the departments he's been involved with, granted not in New Hampshire, they've all made you go for some level of a physical before you came on the department to make sure you weren't a liability.
I have no issue with the issue of physicals, and I think
Right.
that's not unreasonable at all.
The question
But-
is what? Right.
What is
How
it
many
reasonable,
tests?
and is it going to be realistic for very small departments? You know, when we get an initial cost of $1,100+ for, that's cost prohibitive.
Oh, no question about it.
Yeah.
But again, you gotta be proactive in terms of looking to see how do we get around it, and it isn't just Alstead.
So, yeah, it's not a question of getting around it, it's a question of whether bureaucrats that happen to sit in positions of deciding these things are thinking outside of their own experience, and maybe their experience is 100% in a very wealthy town, you know, where money's no object and that's it.
It can certainly be a two-pronged approach then in terms of somebody exploring the options for the physicals and then the pushback in terms of, you know, what the heck is your problem?
Right, and maybe that's not the first step. The first step is saying, okay, can you explain to us exactly how you came to these conclusions, and do you have some recommendations on where we can get this done for an affordable amount of money?
And what is an affordable amount of money for a physical? I have no idea.
That's the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, a real physical is far more than that.
1,100 bucks.
Yeah, you can have one test, just the stress test alone is.
That's not part of the standard physical.
No, my
Depends
guy
on-
just goes open your mouth, you know.
It depends on what your symptoms are.
Yeah.
It depends on what your age is. It depends on a whole lot of things.
Well, in this case, it depends on what you might be required to do in your duties as a firefighter.
I sort of look at this like a sports physical. I mean, this is about physical fitness and how good a shape are you in. And I guess when I hear this type of thing, I think, okay, what's it cost to a kid who wants to play football this season? What's he get charged when he goes to, one of the walking clinics to get something like that?
But there's also probably a liability side to consider, because if one of our firefighters is on the job, but he's not really fit to do the job, and he gets.
Certainly, and I'm not discounting the requirement to have a physical. I'd just like to know kind of what the history is behind this and why it's such a.
I'm thinking some of the walk-ins must do occupational kind of.
well,
They do Nashua.
What's your,
I know they do, like UPS, BFI, all of those. You know.
Maria Cadavina, is that the name of your gal, Glenn?
Yep.
Yeah, that was another name thrown out as a possibility.
Okay, anything else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We'll be back here in 2 weeks at 6:30. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thanks.
Have you seen this? It's like